Yeah, hi everybody. Hi Phil. Thanks very much for having us back. My name's Adam Lamping. I'm the head of pre-sales here at Thinkproject. I've been in the construction industry for 15 years now. Starting off life as a practitioner before moving into leadership roles around digital transformation and the like. So I think that gives me a pretty good perspective on the needs and also the opportunities for technology and digitization in the construction industry. So here at Thinkproject, I can share those experiences and those insights with not only our customers, but also our product development teams. Thinkproject is a technology company in the AECO space. We offer a platform-based approach to the delivery of services across that asset lifecycle, from design to construct to operate. And as Phil said, I think this is our fourth or fifth, because I presented earlier on this morning, appearance on Glimpse of the Future, which has been a great channel for us to, to get our messages outside of our core, typically sort of Northern European, German-speaking markets. So to be able to use Glimpse of the Future channel to be able to showcase what we're all about to a broader audience, which is fantastic. So on the first session, we looked at one of the projects that we're helping to deliver, which is the Fehmarn Belt Tunnel between Germany and Denmark. Then on the second appearance, as Phil said, we launched our RAM product, our GIS map-based asset management solution. So you can check out previous videos of that as well. Then on the last session before this morning, I talked about how at Thinkproject, because we have a tool called CMAR, events-based contract management, and DESITE BIM, which I'm going to talk about for this presentation, we can really start to bring together two previously quite disconnected use cases, i.e. contract management and BIM. And it's the bringing together of those use cases and that data, if you like, that I think can really start to help the industry move forward in terms of how we utilize data and how we think about information to reduce some of the risk that can happen on projects. So the key for us at Thinkproject is integration. So integration between the products within our portfolio, but also that same integration applies externally. So we're very keen on being an open platform provider. So the majority of this presentation, I'm going to focus on BIM and use this platform to help kind of launch our DESITE BIM management solution outside of our core Northern European base. So DESITE BIM, all about BIM management. So just a couple of words on BIM from my perspective and kind of my experience in industry, and hopefully that resonates with a few people on the call as well, is that for me, I think certainly over the last 10 years, the industry's really started to get to grips with BIM, and it started to be deployed on many projects in many countries around the world now, which is obviously really positive and fantastic. It's just that I think that we've kind of reached a little bit of a plateau in terms of our adoption. I think some of those reasons are around people and process challenges, this is probably the right forum for those. But certainly from a technology perspective, I think through DESITE, we've got the opportunity to maybe break through that plateau. So let me just unpack what I mean by that. When we talk about BIM, we typically express it or communicate it around kind of BIM uses, i.e. the tasks that BIM can help us to digitize. So I just listed a couple across the top here on this graphic. Things like BIM data validation, validating the data in the models so that we can use it for the purposes that we'd like to. BIM data management, so by that I mean kind of conditioning the data, maybe adding additional information to the BIM models. For example, a cost code. Let's say we want to do some quantity takeoff, or we want to make sure that the quantities coming out of the models are aligned to trade package breakdown structures. Things like 5D BIM, so BIM-based construction quantity takeoff. 4D BIM, so visualizing the schedule, clash detection, obviously looking for pinch points from a design perspective. And then of course things like API. When I say API, I mean access to the source code to be able to link other systems, other data sources into the BIM process. And then typically to undertake those sorts of use cases, we rely on, at the minute, or as far as I knew before I joined Thinkproject, we rely on a number of products. And the reason we rely on a number of products is because typically, as far as I always knew what was available in the market, lots of these individual products undertake predominantly one or perhaps a small number of use cases. So in order to deliver all of those things across the top, we need typically a stack of products to kind of bring that to life to make that happen. And you could say, okay, Adam, so what? that's what we do. That's how we kind of deliver BIM. But I think there are some challenges to that approach. Firstly, it makes it quite expensive. There's a large investment that can happen, which can sometimes be a little bit of a barrier to entry to smaller or perhaps less mature organizations, as there's a number of different software products to buy, to train people in, to maintain, which is quite an effort. But also that means you've got a number of potential vendor agreements to try and negotiate and to manage as well. So let's just take that a little bit further down into a sort of a project level and try and bring that to life a little bit more. If we just look at some of the similar kind of use cases, so we recognize that there's benefit in digitizing some of these tasks on the left-hand side. Again, 4D visualization, perhaps using the models in the field to undertake some tasks, and ultimately getting information into asset information models to hand it back over to clients, for example. When we start to look at those individual products in more like a workflow, and this is obviously a simplified version, but I think it's pretty true to reality, excuse me. We think about BIM models kind of coming into this process, the orange block there in the middle. We then have this kind of round trip, if you like, of different data and BIM models in order to be able to make those BIM uses on the left-hand side work. So let's say, again, let's use 4D as an example. I see a lot on LinkedIn at the minute about really great examples of 4D visualization that's happening, which is cool. It's just that there's quite a lot of work to make that stand up. It could be that we have to clash detect the models to make sure that they're fit for purpose, that there's no visual clashes between the different design elements. Excuse me. We need to check and validate those BIM models that are suitable for 4D to make sure they have the cost codes in them, the work breakdown structure codes in them, so that the 4D the model can actually link to the schedule and it will work. And we may need to add those additional work breakdown structure codes in with standalone BIM management, BIM data management software. And again, you might look at that and say, okay, well, so what? That's why I have BIM managers. That's why I have BIM coordinators. But that's quite an inefficient process. And again, from a people change perspective, which is obviously what this is all about, it's about trying to make BIM the way we kind of go to work and make it an everyday event. When you apply this to kind of real people that perhaps are not BIM experts, not BIM coordinators and BIM managers and the likes, it only takes one break in that chain for the whole thing to start to fall down, and some of those benefits that we want to drive from BIM can really start to be eroded. So let's just use, say, 5D BIM, for example. So we're asking commercial people to be able to quantify and price from BIM models. Any gaps in the data in some way, or let's say the model doesn't work visually, for example, it's going to lead to challenges. And it does, I can attest to this from my experience. And people can typically break the bargain because they have limited time, they've got to get jobs done. So they say, just give me a drawing and I'll do a manual takeoff, for example. So again, just starting to erode those efficiency benefits that are possible from BIM. Hence why I think there is a bit of a plateau out there. Also, there's little or no automation between that process. Everything that I just referred to earlier on with 4D is all manual. It takes people and documents to make this thing happen. And ultimately, we're creating data islands. Each one of those products is a data island. So if we want to leverage insights from our BIM process, it's very difficult when we've got data in 5 or 6 different buckets. So Thinkproject offers DESITE into the mix. The DESITE can read content from Autodesk Revit, from Bentley MicroStation, IFC files, which are BIM neutral file formats, also information from geospatial and point cloud files, excuse me, into DESITE. And then DESITE is a BIM management solution in the sense that it can undertake one or all of those aforementioned use cases listed previously. So we only need one tool to undertake those sorts of things. As you can see at the bottom, with those videos, all those things can be happening in parallel. So again, you might say, well, okay, so what? I already have BIM software. What's the benefit of DESITE? Really, for one, it's a more rationalised IT investment. There's only one product to buy, but I think for me, more importantly, it's where we can start to push through that plateau, is to unleash some of the automation opportunities and create mappings between different codes. For example, let's say cost codes and WBS codes. Excuse me. We can create rules so that when we check and validate the BIM models, it's to help automate and semi-automate the quantity takeoff and the 4D visualization. So that's how we start to optimize the BIM management process and really get the best from the BIM managers, the BIM coordinators that we've invested time and effort into developing. So whilst DESITE is a relatively new product potentially in the UK and some of the other markets outside of the German-speaking region, I just wanted to point out a number of customers that people on this call may well recognise, just to speak to the credibility of DESITE. It's been going for around 15 years. We've got public asset owners using the product. So DeutscheBahn, which is the equivalent to somebody like Highways England if we're joining from the UK, or DGs, equivalent to somebody like Network Rail, for example. So there's asset owners taking ownership and control of their data through DESITE. We also have a number of general contractors using the product. So Wyas and Freitag, which is BAM's operation in Germany. Strabag, Hochtief, for example, again, recognizable global general contractors. And also design consultants like Arup and RKW and Architecture, all actively using DESITE to optimize their BIM process. And then just before I wrap up, I just wanted to shine a light a little bit more onto DeutscheBahn, who are certainly leading the way in terms of their investment in asset information modeling and using DESITE to support that. Excuse me. What they've done is they've taken their asset information requirements that were previously a document and digitized those, and we worked with them to create that into a database. Because what we can do with DESITE using the API, as I mentioned earlier on, is we can point it to that database. That means we can pull down requirements, but also write back to the database, so complete the asset information model in a much more distributed and synchronized way. So what that means in reality is that the contractors, the design consultants can visualize by importing their various design models into DESITE. They can quickly browse the asset information database, click on an element and see what attribution they're responsible for, and really quickly and easily discharge their responsibilities according to the asset information requirements. Then it means that DeutscheBahn can then suck all that information in, and of course using DESITE's validation capability can visualize and validate that kind of data towards creating their asset information model. So some really fantastic examples of what's happening there. So that's a whistle-stop tour through DESITE, the integrated BIM management solution. That QR code there on the right-hand side takes you to our YouTube channel, so you can find out more information and take a look into some more detailed use cases. Thank you very much.